Welcome to the first episode of the Ryan O'Neill podcast. And I'm going to have to isolate this later because I'm going to steal this guitar tracks for backing as an intro. So my first guest today, playing this lovely Jack Daniels acoustic across from me, is Mr. Rod Robillard. So maybe we'll give a second here to see what Rod's all about. Local musician, been playing, well, I think we just said longer than I've been alive.
Yeah, 50 years almost.
So we're going to try to delve into a little bit about the music scene, kind of then and now, since you're still doing it, right?
Yes.
Still doing it. So kind of, what it was like to release music before the internet, and what's it like to release music without physical CDs.
Yeah, it's different.
Two completely different worlds, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. Different worlds for a lot of things. I mean, playing live, recording, putting out your merchandise, everything's changed.
Yeah, I feel like everything is a lot more inclusive. It's easier to get everywhere, right? Instantly, for free. Just make a Gmail, I can get a YouTube channel, I can post stuff up there, and millions of people can access it.
Mm-hmm.
But it also kind of dilutes it a little bit, right?
Oh, I think it dilutes it a lot.
It doesn't mean anything to have a CD anymore or to have an album anymore.
No.
And it's a weird, that's kind of a weird thing. Because even if you put a lot of money, a lot of effort into a good production, it's still just in the sea of millions of independent productions.
Exactly. That's why you've got to think about how you're going to put these things out. Like, for instance, with our new record, we're not putting it all out at once.
Okay.
Excuse me. We're going to do a tune a month, or maybe a tune every month and a half.
Okay.
And get it out there like that, because, like you say, it just if you put everything out there at once, it just becomes a big wash of.
Yeah. I mean, why did Journey never have a number one hit? Separate Ways comes out, then Beat It comes out.
Yeah.
It's like,
sorry,
look, you're second place to Michael Jackson. Like, that's great, but you're still never number one, right? So
Mind you, I'd take that in second.
I'd take second place to Michael Jackson. Yeah, I guess that's not too bad.
Pretty sure. Yeah, it's hard to sell product these days, and well, I can't even believe that those words just came out of my mouth. Because we were talking about earlier about how things have changed, and I remember the singer from the Black Crowes saying once, some interview somewhere, that I knew we were in trouble when the record company started calling our music product. He said, I knew we were in trouble because it wasn't the creative thing anymore.
Yeah.
And, I blame Gene Simmons, sell the T-shirt thing. I mean,
yeah, I guess he was the first one to admit that he's not in it for art. Right?
Oh God, no! Have you ever listened to a Kiss album?
Oh no, yes, I have.
None of them are in it for art.
No, but I mean, that was like the first band that, at least that I know of, that just blatantly said, we're just in this for the money.
Oh yeah,
right? It's going to look cool and we're going to make money.
Exactly.
Right? And it was almost a joke. Right? People almost thought they must be kidding because somehow they were making decent music.
Well, the kids loved them, right? But, I mean, yourself, all the other musicians are going, oh, man, you got to be kidding me.
Almost like Spinal Tap, but they're taking themselves seriously.
I'm pretty sure that's where Spinal Tap got the idea.
It was a mockumentary of Kiss.
Yeah, even though Tufnell looked a lot like Jeff Beck, but he's a really good musician too, that dude. I forget his name right off the bat there now, but he plays all kinds of instruments, mandolin, and he's a really good bluegrass player too.
Oh, really? I'm always really flabbergasted at how talented some musicians are based on what they write and record in their bands.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's, we say that cliche, it's what the song called for, right? But in some cases it really is, right? And
well, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. I know myself, when we do stuff, when we record stuff, as soon as my track is down and I become a producer, it's not me playing the guitar, it's that freaking guitar player again, right? You know, because you listen to it back and go, what the frig is this guy doing? We got to, you know, he's playing too many notes.
Yeah.
Like, smarten this guy up, right? So, but like you say, it's what fits the song. And my singer he's always saying that. It's what the song wants and what the song wants. And for the first little while, I'm going, what is he talking about? But when you get in, you listen to the tracks and you start mixing things, you go, oh, okay, yeah, now we know what he's talking about.
So I guess we can give the listeners a little bit of context here.
Okay.
So what band or bands are you working with now?
I'm just working with the one right now, the Single Malt Blues Band.
Okay.
With Jim Sharp on drums, you know Jim.
Yeah, yeah.
Dwayne Smith playing bass. He came in from out west 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
And a longtime buddy of mine, Steve Rombos, a vocalist.
Okay.
Him and I do most of the production. He does the tech stuff, and that's about it. And we all write in our own kind of way. And we were talking about COVID earlier. Like, this is the first band that was actually mine, kind of. Well, I had the Rod Squad before. Because I played a lot of years as a hired gun, you know. I played in country bands, I played in top 40 bands and stuff like that. So, excuse me. So, it's something that's really mine, right? And I mean, these guys are all, well, you've heard the band. These guys are just like killer players.
There's no filler.
They're killer players. Yeah. Just killer players. And I had almost the best summer ever booked, ready to go. And mask up, boys. Sad.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the studio here where we're doing the recording, we'd normally do 13 concerts a year. 15 concerts a year.
Oh,
we would do 12, we do monthly open mics. So the last week of every month, we would do an open mic at the studio, open to the public and for students. And then 3 times a year, we would do an almost summer concert, we do a back to school concert, and then we do a winter concert where we'd rent a hall. And actually the back to school concert, the city's been nice enough for the last few years, they've let us use the band shell.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I mean, tell a group of 30 kids they get to go play at the band shell.
I can imagine,
just go, oh yeah, they get so stressed out.
But I bet you get them motivated pretty good, too.
Oh, of course, of course.
Yeah. Nothing like a stage to get some people going.
Yeah. And then when it's outdoors, more of their family can come too, and things like that. So, you know, they always get a kick out of it. And then, of course, I get a kick out of taking on too much. So here I am trying
You sound like me. I'm not as busy as you are, but I get it.
Well, I mean, hopefully I get to slow down eventually, but I mean, it's all fun, right?
Well, if it gets any slower than this, man, careful what you wish for, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've been pretty lucky doing doing Skype lessons and things like that.
Yeah.
We've been pretty much full up on students. Even doing some more like programs. I just started doing some programs. Shameless plug here for the Boys and Girls Club, doing some beginner virtual ukulele courses.
Oh, that is so cool.
So this morning I was.
Oh, really? Can I get in on that?
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to. I would love that.
Only 8 kids, 8 to 12. Kids 8 to 12. Sorry, Rod.
Wow.
You're
Maybe we can.
Couple years too old.
I can act that young. Really?
I'm sure you can.
Just
say your camera's not working.
I often do.
Just sign in, say your camera's not working. Nobody will know the difference. But no, having a blast with got two different groups of kids now, and so yeah. As far as that goes, teaching in the virtual space, we were kind of lucky, looking to segue into that before COVID hit. So I mean, we've been fairly
ideally having both, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I picked up a couple students just through Facebook ads and things like that. I picked up a couple students who are actually from out of town. Now out of town, like other side of Newington or like close to Ottawa, out of town. So whenever everything started back up and we were allowed to take students in, I contacted everybody and they just obviously wanted to stay on Skype. They don't want to drive an hour and a half to.
Well, yeah, I get that.
for a half an hour lesson.
But you're lucky though, man. I really miss that. Like, You know, there's really two parts of my career as a guitar player. The first part was playing, and the second part was teaching. And,
That was one of the other reasons I was really, really looking forward to having you here and chatting, because I see a lot of what you do and what you've worked on in what I'm trying to do here, or what I kind of have ended up doing, which is kind of a little bit of everything, as you've been saying. And teaching and playing and writing is, is definitely the main focus I have musically as well. So you started teaching. So how old were you when you started teaching?
Oh, I don't know, 30 maybe.
Okay.
30.
And you'd played for a long time. Like when did you start playing?
When I was 15. When I was 16 years old, I did my first professional gig. Professional meaning getting paid for it.
Yeah, that's what it means. Doesn't matter if it's in beer stamps. If you get paid, you get paid.
No, it was actual money, and it was good money too. I mean, what are we talking? Early 70s, right? Probably. Yeah, early 70s. And I got in with a bunch of these old grizzled veterans that have been around forever. Like, I think the closest guy to my age was like 35, right? So they'd been around quite a bit. Just a quick funny story. We were out playing. We were playing in Quebec, and we were doing. We had driven to this one gig, and we did the gig, and we stayed in a van overnight. Okay, and then we drove to the next gig, and when we get to the next gig, they're giving us our own hotel rooms. Our own rooms. And I'm thinking, wow, okay, this, I'm just a kid, right? I'm going, wow, I'm pretty cool. I got my own room, So they give me my key, and I go upstairs in my room. I forget what the number was, but I go to look at my room. There's a big shotgun blast in the door of the room. Seriously. Like they put a piece of wood behind it, but you could tell it was a shotgun blast in the friggin' room, man. I'm going, oh my God, what have I got myself into?
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was my start. And then that night we're playing, and remember you're probably too young to remember the motorcycle gang, the Popeyes.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, they decided that they were going to come to the bar.
Okay.
And like 300 of them.
Of course.
We're up there playing. And I mean, giving her, like, and in those days, you could have really called us a Deep Purple cover band, because that's basically what we were. Just playing as loud as we could play. And anyways, we're doing a set, and the place starts shaking, right? And I said, well, everything happens so fast, you don't know what's going on. Everybody gets up and runs out. I thought it was an earthquake. No, it was the Popeyes showing up on their 300 friggin' motorcycles. So that was my second gig.
So the first night, the first gig.
The first gig was all right.
The first gig was fine.
I think we played. I think we played a gym or something somewhere, a gymnasium or something. That's why we had to sleep in the van. But oh man, yeah, I don't know why.
Jeez. Now, were you writing music back then?
Not then. No, I was mostly just, like I said, I was mostly just a hired gun. Like, I was just a kid. I was just learning too,
Okay. So it was just kind of a challenge. Here's another set of songs to learn.
Well, yeah.
And you'd progress a little bit that way.
Exactly. And that was the good thing about it too, because we were playing the songs of the day, whatever was on the radio. So another top 10 record come out, well, you had to learn it. And it didn't matter if it was the Beatles, if it was Deep Purple, or if it was the Monkees,
Yeah,
you learned it.
Was there less stigma about genres or covering different genres or outside of your genre?
Oh yeah, a lot less. That was one thing that I feel sorry for the younger kids. Well, compared to me, when you'd be at the beach or something when I was a kid and the radio was on, you'd hear all those different things on the radio. Yeah, you'd hear Cream, then there'd be Jimi Hendrix, and then there'd be Captain and Tennille and the Monkees, and then you heard everything.
It was a lot. There was a sense of music for the sake of music.
Yeah, and all that all those different genres were in your ear, right? It was always there. Whereas now, I mean, if a young guy likes metal, he puts on a metal station. That's all he hears.
Well, and it's that positive feedback loop, right, that our social media has kind of gotten into, where it's this innocent little thing to give you more of what you like.
Mm-hmm.
But then a computer can't really understand, or an algorithm, a code can't really understand that too much of what you like isn't always the best.
Too much of anything's not a good thing necessarily.
So I mean, I've had conversations with people about this kind of like social media thing and kind of being coerced, and it's almost as if there needs to be a little level where you can say, I want 5% complete randomness. Ignore what I want 5% of the time. You know what I mean? There needs to be, because the user has no control over that. Right?
No,
So I mean, it works in some ways, but then it filters out what you would enjoy otherwise.
You're 100% right, but it'll never happen now. I mean, for instance, if I'm looking on my computer and I want to buy a snowblower, I'm looking around. Next thing you know, I got all kinds of ads for snowblowers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the same thing works, for instance.
It's those same algorithms.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So my theory of life is greed is the root of all problems. And that's what it is. I mean, it's all about money now. It's not about, it has,
well,
when they're playing the music, it doesn't really, it's selling the t-shirt, right? I mean, let's face it.
Yeah, that's such a hard dilemma because,
well, it is.
Because even if that's not the case, by the time most people make it, they're in it. They seem as though they're in it for the money, because to make the money, you have to be in it for the money. It's almost as if...
Listen, I got nothing against making money.
But it's almost as if
that.
The incentives aren't lined up properly. And I think that's a huge issue, like across the board in society. It's
yeah, absolutely.
The incentives are to outcompete, to do your own thing, to buy, the incentives are to buy in and to make more money and to beat the competition, right? Where there's no incentive to just make art for the sake of art.
No, it creates that exactly.
Idea has been around since labels started.
Yeah, the creativity is gone. And like I said, back when I was young, you'd hear all these different things on the radio, and people would, whoever was producing the records or whatever, go, oh yeah, that sounds nice, let's do that. Oh yeah, that sounds nice, let's do that. Well, now they go, okay, what demographic does that shoot at? And how much money do they have to spend? And it just takes everything out of it. I mean, you see I've seen some amazing musicians on YouTube that are putting out fantastic records. You never hear them. No. Especially blues artists, because their songs are always longer than 3 minutes and 21 seconds, right? That's our mantra in the studio, right? Oh no, it's longer than 3:21. We got to cut this somehow, right? Like, to get it on the radio. But it's all. Yeah,
well, I mean, that I think is the one beautiful thing about this Facebook, social media, YouTube, whatnot world, is that to get it on the radio, internet radio doesn't give a damn about how long your song is, right? Like YouTube isn't going to give a damn about how long this podcast is. If we're here for 3 minutes and 20 seconds, or if we're here for 3.5 hours, it's not going to matter. So there are benefits, right? There are benefits to the artist, but it doesn't line up. The same incentives.
Everything's backwards now.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's backwards. Before, a band would make an album and they'd go and tour to promote the album, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's the other way around.
You have to tour to make the money to make the album.
The album promotes the tour because that's where the money is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's backwards.
You know what, though? I've been saying for the last few years to musicians, I don't know if that's a bad thing. I don't know if not making money off. Now this is
I don't. I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm not going to disagree.
But I mean, it feels weird to say. It feels so counterintuitive to say, as a musician who writes music and who puts music out there, that I don't know if it's a bad thing that music, that the music, it's that we don't get paid for repetitions of the same song, that we don't get paid for the music. It's a weird thing to say, but it kind of, on the other side of that coin, where obviously that could be a negative thing, it forces musicians to actually perform, right? You eliminate the one-hit wonders who are making money off of one cheesy song and they've never done anything else and they're making money off of that. Now, that might be a small percent, but in my opinion, it rewards the more consistent musicians across the board. In the sense that
my dig with it is the creative part. Like, we were talking earlier. You're a wicked bass player, and it's because you have a relationship with your instrument. That's why you're a great bass player. That's why any musician that is really good at his instrument, that is why they have a relationship with their instrument and with the music. When you write something, it comes from that place. It comes from that's where it comes from, right? But if you're writing an album to promote a tour, next thing you know, you're sitting there going, well, geez, is that going to go with the lights in the second act, It's just.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Now you're writing a full experience. You're writing the full show. You're no longer writing an album. You're writing the Broadway production. You're writing the screenplay to your album.
Bingo.
It's not just that.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Do you think Beyonce sits down and goes, "Hey, listen, I got a great idea for a tune"?
Now.
No, she doesn't. She goes, "Listen, here's how the stage is going to be set up. Here's what I want to do with the lights. And the girls are going to dance over here, so write me some shit to go with that."
Right? I don't know. I think it comes from both ways. I think some of them come into it honestly and get turned into that production. I'm sure that's true. I think there's a lot of pop artists who are great singer-songwriters who strum 3 or 4 chords on their guitar. And then the guitar's taken away, the synth dance tracks put in the background.
Oh, look at how many of them. You're right. Look at how many of them just started in their basement. You're exactly right. Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing.
I don't even follow that stuff, and I can think of 2 or 3 myself. Mm-hmm. So I
remember one of my students had brought up. This was years ago, maybe 5 years ago or so, when Katy Perry was first getting big. Maybe 10 years ago. I don't know. Time is weird.
I like Katy Perry.
But
I turn the sound off and watch the videos. Just saying.
That's what I said about Christina Aguilera back in the day.
Well, actually, she could sing.
She can sing now too. Yeah. She can sing now. I noticed the singing now.
Now that I've noticed, she can sing.
15-year-old Ryan.
I hear that.
But no, a student had brought up this video to show me, and it was, I think, her song "Firework" or one of Katy Perry's songs. Yeah. But it was her sitting on a stool with an acoustic guitar, strumming chords and singing. Mm-hmm. I said, you know what? I said, this is listenable. Mm-hmm. This is a song. Mm-hmm. I don't feel bad about this. I don't feel weird about this. It just seems like a regular song now. And I find that a lot. Now, I mean, I started teaching in the early 2000s. So I've noticed teaching song. I noticed it a lot where having to learn and take the chords and the music and play it on a real instrument, as opposed take a dance song and learn the chords, put it on a real instrument. And then it started to make me realize that these are real songs and that I'm almost biased through the instrumentation. The second I hear that instrumentation, it's like the second you hear a fiddle, you're like, oh, that country stuff. Yeah. But it's the
way they produce it. Exactly right. Yeah. I mean, you can take a country song and make it sound like a Ozzy Osbourne song if you want to. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I think I've seen that on the internet somewhere. Now that I think about it, but
if you look far enough, you'll find anything.
Production has a big deal to do with everything. Yeah. I mean, absolutely everything. That's why good producers are just, they're the guys that are making the money, and working all the time. Mm-hmm. But they all have their own thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
They find a niche, find a sound,
exactly.
find a...
Yeah, exactly.
After doing some, I've been doing quite a bit more production, some tracking, production, mixing and mastering and all that fun stuff lately, watching a lot of videos and stuff. And I wonder if everybody has their own style because they want a particular style, or because none of us really know what we're doing.
Well, I think
we all just stumble on to what we think sounds good, and it's all subjective, right?
That's where, excuse me, that's where my style of guitar playing came from.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and again, I go back to all these different things in my ears. I mean, my father had a stack of 78 records with, guys from the 1930s and 40s, all kinds of crazy stuff. And you hear from that, you learn from that, you learn from this. I played in a country band for years, so I had to pick up what the country pickers were doing.
Now, do you find have you taken any of that country technique or that what you've learned from that country, from playing country, has that influenced anything you've done in blues and in rock?
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And the other way around too. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, that's what I mean. And
the blues changed how you approached the country when you were there as well.
Yeah. Exactly. The one thing, country music gets a bit of a bad rap.
It gets a bad rap,
but
it's really only country pop I have a problem.
Yeah. But I mean, it comes from the same spot as blues does. It mm-hmm. comes out of the heart. Mm-hmm. I watched a documentary on PBS not too long ago. I think Ken Burns was the guy who did it. And it went from the beginning, basically, up to whenever. But, I mean, all these guys were writing songs. Like, these guys were living in a shack on a mountain with no food, no place to go to the bathroom. Nope. And they're writing from, it's coming from their souls. It's basically white blues,
Yeah.
It's basically what it is.
It's blues without solos, right? blues without an overdrive.
Blues without guitar players, yeah. But it comes from the same spot.
Yes.
It comes from the same place. So, I actually that did more for my ability as a guitar player than a lot of things that I've ever done. I mean,
it's interesting you say that. My experience has been very, very much the same. I mean, primarily I'm a metalhead, right? It's as technical and as fast mm-hmm. as I can make it. It's where I only get better at my instrument because I write things I can't play yet.
Well, that's exactly what I do too.
And then,
damn, I gotta get that thing.
In a year when I'm gonna record it, I'll need to play it by then. But yeah, playing in, like, doing some different covers. I was actually really, really fortunate. I was able to do some session work. Joe Hare, I'm gonna name drop a good friend of mine. He was teaching at Melody Music at the time when I was working there. Fantastic jazz pianist, also a folk singer guitarist. So this folk jazz album kind of mishmash, very, very interesting stuff. Kind of the folk storytelling approach with interesting chords.
So that took you out of your element then?
Completely. I mean, it was the first time I had recorded bass where I couldn't make it clack.
One rule, no clacking.
Jeez, how do I do this? I need to let me raise my action or something.
Well, and we're not the only ones. I remember years ago too when Mark Muir, good for Mark, he's a monster guitar mm-hmm. player, another one of my students that I live vicariously through. This was many years ago. He had been approached by some people to play in a country band, and they're pretty reputable people. They were talented. They knew what they were doing, and he had asked me, he said, "What should I do that?" I said, "Hell yeah, go ahead, man." Mm-hmm. And he said, "Well, I don't know how to play country." And I basically said what you said: turn your overdrive off and just play your guitar, right? Like,
just play.
But after he did that, he told me that was one of the best things he did was mm-hmm. to do that, because anytime you got to think out of your element. I mean, as long as you can do it technically, now, because you can get frustrated pretty easily.
There needs to be an underlying musicality before. I feel like there needs to be a sense of appropriateness in some genres, where, for instance, you can get away with throwing a lead in behind here and there in some genres, where in others you really can't, right?
But being a guitar player is not all about being a lead player.
No. But I'm saying it's being aware of what you're doing, of what genre you're in too. And I found that was something that really, really helped me.
It's all about supporting the singer, right? Mm-hmm. That's, I mean, you can throw around this, what the song wants, no, it's what the singer wants, basically. I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but, you know, that's what you're there for.
My wife's a singer. You don't need to explain
well,
this to me.
you have to, you have to do your best to make the singer shine.
Now,
as you as a bass player have to do your best to make me shine when I'm doing my guitar solo. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be doing a guitar solo over me. You know what I mean? That sort of thing, right?
Only Geezer Butler could get away with that. For some reason, there's a bass solo underneath every one of Tony Iommi's guitar solos. Black Sabbath was the only band I've ever tried to learn bass lines.
I don't even think they were ever in the studio together.
Probably not.
Well, they were, but they were also whacked on coke.
Well, they were together, but up here they weren't together.
Just so whacked on coke. I have a guitar magazine at home where Geezer and him talk about some of the times.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, oh my God, I thought I went through crazy stuff.
But then again, Geezer was a guitarist. He was a guitarist, and then they just couldn't find a bass player, so they said, well, I guess we don't have two guitarists waiting for a bass player. I guess he wasn't as good as Tony.
And he ended up writing most of the lyrics too. He ended up being the lyricist for the band. So, and that was the article. I was pretty interesting how he comes up with some of the stuff. You know. Anyways, we shouldn't be getting into that because it's
a little too colorful.
A little bit, yeah.
A little too colorful.
You can imagine, you know.
So, what other bands have you played in?
Oh my God, there's been so many of them over the years. I mean, I was in one of my bands that I really enjoyed playing with was Mr. Christian. That was a while back. Larry Sylvain on drums. Larry.
Yeah.
Larry
I know Nick very well, actually.
Yeah. Larry was a fantastic drummer. Absolutely fantastic.
I've worked with him several times, him doing sound.
No, he was the best drummer the city's ever seen back then. He was, and he came from one thing I liked about Larry, he came from military. He was into military drumming when he was younger.
Okay.
And boy,
they can count.
Oh yeah, but boy, his snare work was like, wow, and he could get so much dynamics out of that snare. It was incredible, and you would think that something coming from something that was so bang, bang, bang on all the time. This guy had his own kind of shuffle.
The amount of nuance you can get from it, right?
Yeah, he had his own type of shuffle that he could kick into there, and it was just so cool. And we had a bass player named Donnie Evans. Have you ever heard of Donnie?
Yes, I've heard the name, yeah.
He went on to move to Ottawa. He played with, what the heck's the name of that band? It's a crazy name. But just an excellent super bass player up to the par of what I have with Dwayne now. And we were doing a lot of crazy material back then. That was one of those, Larry was actually a hired gun for a long time too. Larry played drums for all kinds of different, and this was just one of those ones where
I guess there was
going to play what we want, right?
Okay.
Of course, we didn't work very much, but we played what we wanted. But we were doing crazy stuff.
I always joke with people nowadays, and I say you need to have two bands. You need to have one for your pocket and one for your pride.
Well, that's about it. But, we were doing stuff by bands like Blobwood Pig, and it just like stuff you'd never even heard of.
Just some different stuff, yeah.
No, but stuff that we could really kick ass at, So that's all we cared about.
Yeah.
And of course, we did all the Hendrix and all that.
I mean, there's a huge difference between doing covers that you want to do, covers that you find interesting and fun to play, compared to covers that you think the crowd is going to like.
Well,
and that is it's so hard to balance those two things, I find. That's in every cover band I've been in. That's the decision to make, right? Do we play what we want to play, or do we play what we think people are going to want to hear?
Well, when I played in those country bands, that's what we did. We played what they wanted to hear. And I mean,
are there any times when those two overlap, you think?
What do you mean?
Has there been any situations where you've got to play absolutely 100% what you wanted to play, and it was what people wanted to hear?
Well, actually, with the last band, the Rod Squad, we did really well. that was basically my midlife crisis. I just went back and
dust off the guitar and get back at it.
Well, yeah, and play all the tunes that I didn't play that I wanted to play when I was a kid. And when
no, I joke. I say dust off the guitar. Did you take a break at all from playing, or
yeah,
have you been in and out of bands kind of the whole time?
Yeah, I did take a break. I had actually, I have a little story about that too. I had a pretty serious illness. I had some major surgeries and stuff, and knocked the crap out of me for the longest time. And I pretty much thought that I'd had it. You know, I wasn't motivated.
Okay.
Anyways, some of my wonderful students, and I'll name them, it was Mark Muir, Camille Lapointe, Jamie Heath, and Sean Harley. They approached me. They wanted to do a show with me. And the premise was their bands would each do a bit, then I'd get up and play with each one of them.
Kind of like the G3 of Rod.
But, you know, they, especially Camille and Mark have been really close to me for the longest time. Not that the other guys aren't, but these guys are. And
all fantastic players.
Oh yeah,
oh my God.
Yeah. And like I say, I live vicariously through them. I mean, I still remember the first lesson that each one of those guys ever had, and it's.
Now, did you have them from really young? Were they playing
pretty
already,
young, yeah.
or?
Well, Mark was more ahead than the other guys.
Okay.
But his father was a player as well, so his father had been teaching him. Another lefty. But the other guys weren't that. No, Sean, I don't think, was playing much. But he came from a musical family. His sister Shelley's a singer, and she was in on that show too, as a matter of fact. Mm-hmm. So was Bobby Tessier and Christine Hickey, if I got to mention them too.
Okay.
They were
fantastic musicians too.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. But anyways, what ended up was after that night, I kind of went, "Oh, geez, you know what?
So why don't you do this all the time?"
I think I can do it. I think I can. And then that's how the Rod Squad came after that. So got me back into it.
Fantastic. I'm glad it happened.
Yeah, so am I. I owe those kids. There's something else. But another point I wanted to make, that's one thing that you younger folks have today that I didn't have back in the 70s when I was playing. Back then, it was a cutthroat business, man. Like, musicians were nasty. Serious. They you know, there were certain ones, not all of them, don't get me wrong, but there were certain ones that worked in this town. They'd go around, find out how much you're making, and then go and talk to the hotel owner and try and undercut you. Because at times like that, I mean, you were making a living. We'd go into the Northway for a year at a time, you know. We'd sign up. Oh yeah, we'd be playing 3 nights a week at other bars for like 2 years in a row, you know.
Yeah, I mean, just to clarify for all of the musician listeners under 40, no. you used to be able to make money playing music.
I made a living
playing cover bands.
You know, when I started,
you didn't need to be on a record label and sell 1 million copies to pay your bills.
When I started here. As a matter of fact, you told me you wanted to talk about this, and I started thinking about it, and I lost count. There had to be 12, 15 bars at any time in town hiring live music.
Oh, my God.
Constantly. But there was 4 bars within 2 blocks on Montreal Road. Now, mind you, like, it might be one guy, a single act, a duo over here, but the Northway ran 6 nights a week forever.
It's still a place to play. And I mean, nowadays, to say that a place will book 6 nights a week, that's unheard of.
Oh, no. I mean, it doesn't even happen in Toronto or Montreal.
No, like it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen at all.
I mean, if you look at a place like, I mean, aside from maybe a busy week at a stadium, you know, if you're looking at a busy week at the Bell Center or Vegas or something. Looking at, you know, I think the Brass Monkey was probably the closest.
Yeah, we played there a couple times.
But I think they were probably that closest in between, you know, where as far as a venue, and I mean a busy week, 2-3 shows maybe.
Yeah.
You know, so very, very rare.
And I got to tell you, we were making great money.
Well,
When I was, this is sad to say, but the second year, so I would have been around 17 or 18, I was bringing home more money than my father was. And my father was working at the Seaway.
wow. Wow.
And now you have a hard time getting $20 and a beer out of these guys, you know.
That's...
And that was everywhere. I mean, we didn't travel to Quebec just because we liked the smell of the air. We went because they paid us.
Mm-hmm.
We went everywhere because they paid us. And
but with that many places to play, you didn't. I mean, nowadays, if I wanted to play 7 shows in a row with my band, if we wanted to book a tour, we would have to book a tour.
Yeah,
to play 7 shows in a row.
Yeah,
because
you'd have to play 7 different places.
We'd have to literally go 7 different.
Yeah.
We'd have to do maybe 2 in Ottawa, maybe 2 in Kingston, maybe 1 in Hamilton, do 2 in Montreal, and that's 1 on either side of town.
Yeah, and by the time you get back, you're only $200 in the hole.
Yeah, by the time you factor in your gas for the 3 vehicles and the hotels.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, to think that you could do that not only in the same city of 50,000 people,
exactly.
but in the same bar, in the same venue. Leave your gear.
Yeah, but okay. The point I was trying to get to though was, like that. What those kids did for me on that night would have never happened back then. But it's not. It was not just them and me. All you younger guys got a great community in this town. That's one thing I really dig about the younger kids. You want help, they'll help you. It's not a competition.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the way I see it anyway. It's never not with you younger guys. It's fantastic. I love it. It's great.
I see. I mean, I hear a few. I don't want to say I see because I've been really, really fortunate in having only positive experiences with every musician in town that I've come across.
Wait, you've been around as long as I have to see how that goes.
Fingers crossed, touch wood.
Yeah. But like I say, you are in a different. It's different now. It is different.
Yes, yeah. I think I think everybody realizes how hard it is, in the sense that it's not as hard physically. It's not as hard in the sense as, because before, if you wanted to get an album out, it was hard.
Mm-hmm.
It was damn hard work. You had to have a good album, a good band that could perform every song on that so consistently, and hope that somebody saw you who had enough money to invest in you.
Yep.
So that took a lot of work. Being constantly rehearsed right to the peak, being able to record it at any second, having your parts down, having everything so that every performance is your business card, and you're just fishing.
Well, that's exactly
you're just fishing. You
just found the key. That's the key right there. Every performance is your business card.
And I mean, I see that in a different way now, where every performance, because that's the only way you can make money nowadays. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of almost that same idea. But even after you've made it, you still need to treat it like that, right? You're not, there is no more cushy ride, especially if you're in a niche genre. And the sad thing is, a niche genre is anything that isn't alternative rock, pop, country rock, pop.
Well, commercial.
Exactly.
Yeah, airplay. Anything that gets airplay, yeah.
It's sad when something as mainstream as blues or grunge or even jazz or even hard rock or metal, fairly mainstream, as in a sense that there's not one person, I think, who doesn't know somebody who likes blues.
Yeah. And the sad part is,
it's pretty mainstream.
I know this is cliche.
It shouldn't be a niche.
I know it's cliche to say it, but that's where everything came from too.
Oh, I mean, if you look at blues, and that's where rock came from. That's where
everything. I bet you, I can listen to you do one of your solos you do with the band, and I can show you all the blues licks that you're doing.
I know. I'll write them out for
even
you.
Though you're going, I know that.
Yeah.
Where it comes from.
And in my opinion, that to me is what makes music, what makes good music. Music just for the sake of music, not saying that I'm going to make I'm going to make this one type of song. I'm going to just make this box, fit it in this box and package it and put it out. Most of the music that I like, whether it be rock or blues or jazz or classical, when you listen to it, you hear different influences. There are sections,
as you should, I would imagine, right?
I listen to I listen to ZZ Top. There's some metal in there. You listen to those pinch harmonics and the solos and those dirty bends, and there's so much metal in there, right? Up the BPM by 20, and and we have a metal song.
Yeah, it all comes from the same spot. And good music, like I said before, it comes from your heart. If it's coming from your heart, and if you come from a place of joy, right, it's good music. If you're sitting in the studio going, son of a, I got to get this friggin' thing in the can, it's going to suck.
Yeah.
But if you're sitting there going, oh man, this is really cool. Let's make a song out of it. If I'm smiling.
I've experimented with that before, and I've sat down at my computer with my notation software, and I've tried to just write. And some of it doesn't sound bad, but none of it moves me.
No, that's exactly.
None of it.
Bingo.
I don't feel it.
Bingo.
Now, sometimes I'll do that as far as a basic structure. I'll just write. And then I'll work over it. And then sometimes I'll get feeling from the structure and then kind of impose that onto it.
Yeah.
But it's it is difficult. Which kind of really makes me have much more of an appreciation for any classical composer who just wrote music, not playing instrument they're writing for.
Don't even get me started on that. Were you still was Frank Chabossi still at the music store when you were there? God, I love that man.
Oh, bless that man.
I love that man. Anyways, quick story about him. I walked into his studio once, and he's writing. Did he ever play and put you on to any of his symphonies that he wrote?
He showed me one, yes.
Oh, like big orchestras did his stuff. Philharmonics all over the place played his stuff.
I've been trying for the life of me to find any type of performance or recording online.
Really?
I've looked and I
think I got some actually.
If you do, please, I would love that.
I'll try and find the link.
I would love.
But anyways, I go into his studio one day, and he's writing like this. And I go, Frank, what are you doing? Oh, I'm writing a symphony. But he's writing it this way.
He's making the chords through the different instruments.
So he was writing 10 parts at a time.
Yeah. In
his head. He wasn't even touching the keyboard. So I went, oh, okay. Yeah. Like I'm in another planet here. So I went back about, I don't know, a couple of hours later, and he had quite a lot of it finished. And I said, Frank, play that for me. He started playing it, and I mean, it was beautiful. And you know what he was like? He'd look up and he'd go, well, it's better when the oboe comes in here, like, what?
Oh, the most humble.
How do you do that?
Yeah, the most humble man ever.
Oh, he was sweet. I love that man. Mm-hmm. I love that man. I'll tell you what, when I got sick, he was the first man to call me and tell me he was going to say a prayer for me.
Yeah,
great guy.
I do not have one negative memory of that man.
Oh no, he was so funny sometimes. He'd have that little look where he'd sneak something in there, and I'd just be roaring all over the place.
Yeah.
And he'd be standing there looking around like, what's wrong with this guy?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. He'd give up the innocent act every now and then. Yeah. And sneak one in. I remember one of my favorite memories of Frank. I was working at Melody when he was still teaching there, and he had taken on a classical guitar student. Now, have you ever seen Frank play guitar?
No.
He didn't. He didn't. Didn't even have a guitar. Didn't even take a guitar into his room for his student.
Yeah. I wouldn't stop him.
Oh God, no. God, man could teach you how to play the Chapman stick if you wanted to.
Oh my God.
But and then a few months later, so this guy comes in and he was going through the conservatory exams. So it was a year later. He was doing, I think it was his grade 4 or grade 5 playing exam. After a year, usually the RCM, I mean, if you're advanced, you can do more than one a year, but generally you look at a level a year, maybe 2 levels a year.
Yeah.
He had gone through like 4 levels in a year through the RCM. Ended up getting the highest grade in Ontario, in all of Ontario, in classical guitar. And his teacher had never touched a guitar in his life.
Yeah. That was him. That was
Oh,
him
my
for
God.
sure.
But,
I love you, Frank.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
So, what was the first band that you really started writing or creating in? And was it something that was conscious that you put a band together for it, or did it just come naturally from jamming?
Yeah. Actually, it was with the singer that I have now, Steve Rombo. He was playing bass at the time, and our drummer was Tom Winchester. You know Tom.
Yes.
You know Tom.
Yeah.
And we had a band called Those Guys. I thought that was a great name. Yeah.
I remember that from On the Wall at Melody Music.
Yeah, because people go,
Yeah.
what was the name? You know, like,
Wasn't there a Z in one?
Yeah. But you had like a 90% chance of people getting your name right. But anyways, that band we put together, and that was kind of like playing the own material that we like and writing at the same time. That's when Steve and I first started diving into writing together, and that's when it first started. It's been an ongoing thing. I mean, you know, what do they say? You have to write 1,000 songs before you hit a good one. I should have about 20 good ones by now. I don't think the math is right on that, to be honest with you.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. It's an organic thing with me. I can't. I know people that can sit down and say, okay, I'm going to write a song now. I can't do that. Something's got to come over me. For the longest time, we have our own studio. I think I told you that, but for the longest time, it was in my house.
Okay.
So, an idea comes up, blang, 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 away you go, right? Mm-hmm. Now I can still get ideas down at home, but so that's the way I do it. It's gotta come to me, and I had to stop for a while, like writing lyrics. I had to stop writing lyrics.
Okay.
Because I'd sit down and write about something and end up being War and Peace, right? Like it'd be like this thick.
Yeah.
I got a good hook though.
But I just don't know which
But
one
the verses are 6 weeks long.
Yeah, there's 12 verses in this.
Yeah.
This is a
chapter
of the Bible.
Actually, the first song that we're going to release is one that I just said to myself, you know what? I'm just going to write about something really, really simple, no social commentary, because that's where I get in trouble. That's when it starts becoming big, long records. So I wrote a song about a guy taking his girlfriend out to go dancing.
Okay.
Simple enough, right?
Yeah.
But that kind of rebooted me. I started going, oh, okay, now I'm getting it. Like, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. And I'm starting to feel better about it now.
And then have you found now you can kind of control it and find somewhere in between?
It's a work in progress, but yeah.
Because I have that issue too, where it's either what I'm trying to convey sounds like I'm trying too hard to convey it.
Well,
and I almost sound like some like Shakespearean Ronnie James Dio, where are those just words just because they sound good? Does
I'm
a metaphor inside of a metaphor because I think I'm clever?
Bingo. Exactly.
Sometimes it works.
Exactly.
Sometimes I've looked at pieces and I'm like, those 2 lines, fantastic. The rest of the song,
That's exactly when it hit me. You hit the words right on the head. It's like playing a guitar. You try to get too clever, you're in trouble.
Now I don't know if that's true straight across the board. I think it has to do with your audience, right? How deep is your audience? I always tell this to my students. I say and I think this is true for art in general. There is art for artists, and there is art for, and I hate to use this term, normal people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true across the board. There is a McDonald's cheeseburger, and then there's Gordon Ramsay's piece of art, right?
Yeah.
There's Esca Gourmet Pizza. There's Pizza. They both need to be there.
Yeah, but let me ask you this. How many pizzas do you see when you travel? How many gourmet pizzas places do you see?
Now,
so
arguably, almost even. I don't want to say even but I would say they're probably proportionately even throughout. But the difference would be that there's one person or conglomerate or corporation, whatever, making the profits, skimming the profits from all of those 1,000 pizzas, where if for every 1,000 pizzas, there's 500, little gourmet places, or those gourmet places are all individually owned. Right. So,
well, yeah,
but so it is a different.
My point is, those gourmet places, there'd be a lot more of them if more people were going to them.
So all that proves to me is that most people aren't artists and most people are normal.
Yeah. So, what's the lesson learned here? When you're writing for something, that's your targeted demographic right there.
Yeah. So we come back to what's the audience, right?
Yeah.
Do we want to be, do you want to be a Nickelback or do you want to be a Joe Satriani?
I mean, guys like Frank Zappa come to mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Arguably one of the...
Steve Vai, Jeff... there's a lot of... Beck was even kind of out there.
Well, Beck's my idol. He's one of my heroes.
Out there in some of the best sense possible.
Oh, yeah. But, Frank Zappa is one of the greatest musicians that's ever lived. Mm-hmm. The guy was a total genius. But he wasn't writing to an audience.
No.
He was writing to Uncle Frank,
And if we just polled 20 non-musicians on the street, how many do you think would be familiar with Zappa?
Yeah. Actually, I was doing it. My friend and I have these little trivia contests online going back and forth, and his name came up. Frank Zappa was a musician, a barber, or whatever, So that's they must have thought he was obscure enough to do that.
Yeah, to put it in a music quiz. Oh my God! But you talk to, and I guess it's like that. I think it's like that in every industry, right? Or in every,
sure. Yeah.
There's a particle physicist who can only talk to other particle physicists. There's a mathematician who can only truly appreciate the math from another mathematician.
Yeah.
And I think it gets to a point with that in music. And what I find useful, and I always try to tell my students, is you have to look at it 2 ways. There's 2 ways we can look at any type of art. There's not 2 ways you can look at math, right? We can't look at, there's no other perspective. 2 and 2 is 4.
Yeah.
If we change the laws of the universe, we can make it different, but that's, we can't change that. We can change how we perceive music, or at least how we analyze it. And I always say we have to look at it as we have to look at it from an analytical point of view, from a structural point of view, from a theoretical point of view, right? And then we can appreciate the structure and the beauty and the complexity or sometimes the simple complexities. Or we can just feel it and say, what does this song make us feel?
A phrase that we utter in the studio more than "let's go for a smoke" is, oh man, we're overthinking this. And it's the key to everything. If you're stuck there with a brain cramp, let it go. Come back to it later, because you're.
Yeah.
If it's not flowing out of you.
It's hard to get the brain to solve something that's coming from the heart. If that's
Bingo. That's very well said. No,
so
true. Very true.
So, and I found again, I'm a metalhead. So when I started playing, I didn't even.
You make that sound like a bad thing.
Well, it is when I started, because I was the worst kind of metalhead. Right,
there's varying degrees of metalheads.
Oh yeah. I'm so much more tolerable
I'm pulling
now.
your chain, man.
I'm so much more tolerable now. It's like being a vegan. Like There's
don't get me
degrees.
started on those crazy bastards.
Oh God, you're killing me. You're killing me. But there's yeah. I consider myself a good vegan though.
Okay, you're gonna have to define that when we're off air. You hear that?
I mean, a good vegan in that I'm not gonna throw blood at you out front of a grocery store. Okay.
Okay, it's like the only thing worse than a non-smoker is an ex-smoker. Because okay, so you're the okay.
Yeah,
you're the non-smoker, not the ex-smoker type of vegan.
I guess so.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm not emotionally attached to it, right?
Okay.
I'm not. I try not to be emotionally attached to my ideals, because they change.
Yeah,
I don't find it useful to.
Good to be flexible.
Yeah. Well, because then you create a lot of kind of inner turmoil, right? Because your views do change, and if you can't change them, if you're not open to changing them, you end up hating yourself, or at least that aspect of yourself, right?
And you're talking about writing a record too. Same thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't want to tell you how many changes a song goes through in our studio. I mean, sure, it goes through changes because you start off with something and you get it to a certain point that it's okay. That's where it's going to be, and then, well, what about this? And everything just starts schmoozing around again.
Do you find that happens in the writing or in the production more prominently?
No. Once we record it, that's it, and then
you've got pretty easy to get consensus on the final product.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Because we record live off the floor, right? So, because we're a 3-piece blues band, and you don't want to. I mean, I overdub my solos and stuff like that, but
okay.
Well, you got it. It's all about the feel, not about the.
Okay.
And I mean, let's face it. With the technology we have today, I can go in and belch in a microphone, and we can, make a record out of it.
Oh my God!
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But what we do, like for me, I run my live rig, and we mic that, and I run a DI.
What are you using for a live rig right now?
Oh, just a whole bunch of pedals and typical guitar player, a bunch of pedals and a big amp. I actually have a little Roland 448.
Okay.
It's got 4/8s in the cabinet, and I got another extra cabinet, another 4/8s in it too. And I have a little Fender that I use sometimes, and I have a little Fender bass amp that I run through, which is really cool.
Okay.
But I also, everything that I run, I also have a DI that goes into the board, which is a straight signal. Mm-hmm. So after, when we're producing it, when we're mixing, if my amp sound isn't working right,
you can reamp it, right?
Well, we have like 1 million amps, and I have every amp that I could ever. I don't even have amps I don't even know I have.
Now,
and pedals and it's retarded how many things we have in there. It's just stupid. And then we end up, just for instance, one song we were mixing the other day with all of this crazy stuff that we have in the computer, I ended up with a Boss compressor and a PV Classic 30. That was my DI run.
Okay.
So, but it's great to be able to do that.
So
instead of having to reamp everything and go or retrack it or whatever.
Well, yeah. So you're saying, are you using digital amps, or are you taking the output and running it back through physical amps you have in the studio?
No, I run software.
All software.
Software.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. It's absolutely great.
I recently myself moved to. I was using an old Line 6. As far as Line 6 goes, it was. The really old ones are good, and the really new ones are good. The ones in between, not so much.
I went to worked in a studio once and didn't like them at all.
I remember selling the Spider series at Melody Music, and it was everything sounded like the $80 Digitech pedals, right?
Well, maybe that was the one. Maybe
they sounded like a little laser. Everything sounded like a laser.
Was
beam.
it
the little combos with the. And they had it was the Spiders. They had a 15 to 75. But I was using this old Flex tone. I'll show it to you. I got it in the other room there. well, I say old for a digital modeling amp, 1998. Ancient for digital modeling. And I just upgraded to the Line 6 Pod HD 500, which is a floorboard with it comes with the software where you can do all the amp modeling
Okay, yeah,
and
I've
stuff,
seen that. Yeah,
and
I've
then
seen that.
upload
Yeah,
everything into the
seen
pedal
that.
board. Oh my God. I mean, I'm a bass player, right? So my guitar rig isn't a priority. So it was kind of left off to the back burner, But the difference with the amp modeling, such a
Yeah, see, like
difference.
that's their claim to fame, obviously, right?
Exactly.
And the amps that I used, what studio was I in? Because I remember them saying, "Oh, you don't have to bring your rig, just bring your Axis," and because we got these amps. Okay, it sucked. It was terrible, but yeah, I don't remember what it was, but when I got onto this, when my singer when we first started, we were going to make the studio. We were going to get a studio going and start recording. And I said, "Well, geez, man, like I'm going to need 3 or 4 amps. I don't have, nobody's got money throwing that money out for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to need a small Marshall. I need another Fender.
Yeah.
A couple more guitars.
Yeah. You need a Tele, a Les Paul, a Strat, a hollow body.
Yeah. Well, actually, I have all those now.
I still need the Tele and hollow body.
Can't get those in the computer. But anyways, he said, no. He says these computer programs they got, they're really good for amps and that. Because I'd worked at Melody at the time where Yamaha keyboards and stuff,
They're there. They were doing it, but it wasn't great. You could see where it was going.
It sucked.
Right? You could see, but everything still sounded like a Super Nintendo.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounded like a video game. Yeah.
So anyways, he said, look, Peavy's got this one out. It's a tryout. We can bring it and you can try it out. Okay. So we brought it over. We set it up. And as you know, I sold Peavy stuff for years. I know that stuff like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
He said, well, okay, I'll tell you what amp it is, and you tell me if it sounds right. I said, no. I'll plug in and I'll tell you what it is. Right? Well, I think I went 8 for 9. That's when I went, well, there's something to this digital stuff. And not only did it sound like the amps, it felt like the amps too.
That's when you can roll that volume off and it cleans up your tone.
And you can dig right into it, And it kind of fights back a little bit. I said, and like, especially the thing that really got me, the early, I don't know if they still have it in the PV now, but you could change tubes in the amps.
Yes. The like digital bias, right?
Yeah. Well, you could actually, like, if you had 6L6s.
Or you could physically change them.
Yeah. Because I'm a 6V6 and I love those things and the old Fenders and the black faces and stuff like that. So I started putting them in like the 5150s.
Instead of the 6L6s,
I don't know why they never did that. Because in the computer, it sounded great. It didn't have that buzzkill Van Halen to it, but it would sustain forever.
I remember. I don't know if it was PV or if it was Fender, but one of the EVH, one of the 5150. Well, it was just the EVH when Fender took over it. But I remember one of them did a model with EL84s as well. Which was kind of weird. It was like a 5150 that kind of scooped the mid like a Marshall.
It's Marshall stuff.
Yeah, it was.
But see, when I first started,
it was interesting.
But when I first started using Marshalls, they had 6L6s in them.
Okay.
Well, I think that was the only tube that was.
They're all the same tube.
There's all the same tube back then. Yeah.
Well, it's all the same tubes now.
Hey, I used to go to the corner store, and the guy at the corner store had a tube tester. You could test your tubes right there.
Oh, jeez.
I remember that was because everybody had
tubes in your TV, tubes in your radio, everything, power tubes, right? Us musicians are the only ones crazy enough to still use them.
Yeah,
we're hooked on this tone.
Yeah,
I know. I just downloaded a new plugin, and it's Waves JJ34 tape. It's from the it's the silliest things that we do digitally now.
Oh, we use Wave stuff.
So it's a model of the tape reel from the Abbey Road studio.
Oh, nothing wrong with that.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
But unpackage this for a little bit. I'm going digital and importing this digital. I'm going 100% digital, everything's super clean, and importing
An analog
this
tape.
digital wave that emulates
An analog.
the noise of an analog tape. I get to choose. Do I want 40 or 50 hertz? Do I want 60? What's the degree of how old do I want this tape to sound like? Is this the fourth time this has been recorded on?
You kind of think that's the engineers that are making that stuff are just messing with you,
Yeah.
Let's do with this guy. This would be fun.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like these pants are going to make me thinner by sitting.
Oh, shit. Let me know.
Oh, cool.
Let me know where you can get those.
Oh, fuck. But yes, it's so interesting how far and how deep you can go into recording with all of these plugins, and there's so many different ways to do things.
Yeah, and you gotta be careful. You can do what you want. I mean, anybody can do what they want, but me, it's got to sound organic.
Would I always end up every in-depth technical conversation I have with a student or another musician, I always end it with the Beatles did it all around one mic in the middle of the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we'll sit down, listen to Let It Be Right Now, listen to throw on Love Me Do, throw on whatever.
Yeah, I think they were all excited when they had 8 tracks. They went nuts.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
But if
I could put down 170 guitar tracks if I want to. I just keep duplicating it.
But is it going to make me feel like what I Want to Hold Your Hand makes me feel? No. And would re-recording those tracks multi-track without the in the background, is that going to make that a better song?
It's the board had a tone. That's why, what do they call it? Is it Nev or Neve? I'm not the board. I'm not so I'm saying it right. But we've got all kinds of plugins of those because the board sounds like
you're modeling the preamp, right?
Yeah,
modeling what that board would have sounded like.
Yeah. And it's all analog shit that they did back, everything. I remember reading a story. Well, was it their producer, Beatles producer, Sir George? What was his last name? Anyways, he was talking about that, like when they finally got, I think they ended up with, they had 16 tracks.
Okay.
Oh no, they had 8, and then they figured out that they could run the 2 8s at the same time.
Oh, okay.
And he said that's when things started to get bogged down because everybody was just, okay, let's try this, let's try that. It got a little crazy,
Yeah.
That's when the drugs were there too. But.
It's like watching the Queen movie there when they're in the studio and they're literally running out of tape because they're on so many layers of so many things, right?
Yeah.
And it's now, I mean, in that sense, did they overthink it?
Well, you can get to the point.
There's two sides of everything, right? It's
I know when I first got in with all this technology, like my gears are just spinning. Like we'd do a track and I'd say to Steve, "Okay, can we do this to that? Oh yeah. Can we do that to this? Oh yeah." And then okay, well, why? Okay, we can do it, but why do I want to do it? Right?
Yeah.
But basically, you can do anything you want.
Anything you want. Yeah.
And you got to be careful not to take the art out of it, right?
Yeah, one thing I've always found that kind of keeps me centered with it is, well, and we've got a huge whiteboard in our studio where Erebus practices in Somerstown, and in huge letters, in huge bold letters, we have written, "You did it to yourself." And you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
you know
what
I'm talking about.
I like that.
Because the second that anybody complains, I said, "You wrote it."
Yeah.
So, and it comes back to this, we need to be able to perform the album we're putting out.
Yeah.
If you need 3 laptops running in the background to make your live track sound like your album.
Yeah. And you guys don't need that. You got so much talent in that band. And especially for your genre, I mean, I couldn't play the shit you guys play. Oh my God, you kidding me?
It's an endurance race. I find it interesting because I go back and forth between so many genres. And like, for instance, I just did at La Maison, another shameless plug, their open mics, jam nights every Thursday. I host most Thursdays, every Thursday that I'm free. So there, I've got that acoustic guitar you're holding on to and a microphone, a bass player with an acoustic guitar and a microphone for 4 hours. Now, I coerce other people to come
Makes
up.
me want to set my Thursdays aside.
I know, enticing.
Why
right?
didn't I know about this?
But the idea is that we'll have, now obviously people come up and we jam and we mix and match. It's like an open mic where I'll fill in on guitar or bass, and then if people want to sing or whatnot, they come up. But I'll go and I can do 4, 6, probably closer to 8 hours straight. I've done teach 4 to 6 hours, then go to a gig afterwards. So good solid 8 hours of playing in a day. 2 hours at an Erebus practice, and my wrists are on ice.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I've seen your videos.
But it's a whole other thing, right? It's like playing some pickup hockey out front of your house, or going and you're in a playoff game.
I bet you don't realize your wrists are hurting you until you're done, though, right?
A lot of it's adrenaline. Yeah. A lot of it, and again, it comes back to the feeling, right?
See, I'm like that now too. I have to be, because I've basically bionic. I've had 4 surgeries on my wrists, 2 carpal tunnels and 2 de Querry syndromes done. So, and why? Because I've been playing my ass off since I was 15 years old, right? That's why. Yeah. And your body, oddly enough, tends to age a little bit.
It does?
Nobody told me that.
I figured with enough liquor we could just pickle it.
Yeah, well, I wish. A famous man once said, "Youth is wasted on the young." It's true.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a deep and
it is.
That's such a deep statement that works on
way
too many levels.
We're like 2 hours past my bedtime right now. I'm serious.
I'm not even sure what time it is.
I can tell you because I'm nodding off. Not that you're boring. I'm pulling your chain.
The coffee's not doing it. Should have some espresso in there.
How can they close Tim Hortons before 5 o'clock? I wanted to get there at 5 o'clock, specifically thinking they'd be open.
Oh,
that's just not right, man.
A coffee shop.
COVID this, COVID that. When you start closing my Tim Hortons down before it, Robbie no like that.
Oh, that's awful. Yeah. That's awful.
Oh well.
So I had a couple things here. A couple things I wanted to talk about, and it looks like we've got to a lot of them. So I had one thing I wanted to talk about. What do you find the reason you play? What is the meaning of being a musician? Right?
Oh, that easy question. Oh, jeez. Nothing to that.
Nothing to it at all. Or I guess what is it? What
I'm
is
just
it, what does it mean to you?
I can't put a finger on. I'm just drawn to it.
Is it the feeling you get when you are performing? Is it the reception you get from other people?
No, it's not that. It's no.
Or is it just the internal?
None of that.
The act of playing it.
Yeah, from the minute I started playing guitar, the only thing I wanted to do was get better at it. That was my only motivation. I never wanted to be a star. Anybody tells you they want to be a star, they're not going to be a good musician.
No, they probably haven't thought about it too much.
They just, they just want to be they want their friends tell them they're cool and they like that. Yeah. They learn the opening run to Crazy Train and everybody's buying them beer. I wasn't like that. I was just astounded by how many different things you could do with this thing. And I always just wanted to get better at it. That's all I ever cared about. And to this day, I'm still like that. Mind you, of course, I want to play well on my albums. And sure, when you're out playing live, you want people to like you. But as far as any kind of
but that's almost another layer of it, right? It's not even the same. It's not even the same thing.
Yeah, It's like
it's the outer shell that you need to deal with to interact with the rest of the world.
exactly
Right.
exactly.
It's that.
It's being on stage is. I shouldn't say this. Is not my favorite thing. I don't dislike it, but and of course it's very nice that people like and appreciate what you do, but that's not why I do it. I'm basically greedy. I do it for me. I want to get better. Every time I pick this thing up and play something, I want to be better at it. And that's basically it. You get it. You can't expect people to like what you do if you don't.
That's so true.
If you can't you can't bring joy to yourself by doing what you're doing, don't expect other people to. And it's worked for me. I mean, I'm still here, and I actually still have some people out there that remember me. And when they know I'm playing, they come to see me. And
now, as a teacher, for any younger musicians or older musicians starting up, is there any advice you can give to guitarists starting out, coming up? Are there any specific things that you did that you find or that you found over the years that really, really helped?
Yeah, practicing all the time. I mean, seriously, like I think I started when I was 13.
Now, all the time, like an hour a day or 8 hours a day?
I practiced all the time. Like, my buddies were out playing sports, chasing girls.
I'm trying to put a number on it for the listeners, because on a personal level, I feel 100% there with you. Yeah,
seriously, an hour minimum a day. If you want to become a good guitar player, you gotta. And a lot of people forget that it's physical.
Yes.
I tell all my students that you are going to find so many muscles in this hand that you never knew you had, because they're going to start aching like crazy. Mm-hmm. And I show them exercises and stuff to do.
I found those wrist stretches.
Yeah, I got one there where you
bringing back,
bend the tips of your fingers there, like that. Those are good. But yeah, you have to practice, and don't, like we've touched on this earlier, don't be stuck on one thing. Mm-hmm. If your Uncle Fred comes and shows you a Johnny Cash song,
learn the Johnny Cash
tune.
It. Yeah.
If your other
try to play it now, incorporate those fourths, walking back and forth on the bass line.
If somebody else comes and shows you, learn it. Learn this. Right? So, and just out of that, for instance, I learned that from my dad, right? But what I did learn from that song was how to do this.
Now, how useful is that?
About 500 million rock and roll songs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can take that same theme and apply it to another chord in another position, right?
Same thing.
Same movements in a slightly different context.
So you can learn something from anything. Never turn your nose up to any genre at all. You can always learn something no matter what it is. And learning is good. You might not use it right now, but I just the other day I learned something that do you remember a song by Arjun called Hold Your Head Up?
I think so, yeah.
Anyways, I've been playing that for years, and I knew there was something I just didn't have right.
Okay.
And I put the freaking video on and watched the guy, and here I am, 65 years old. I finally learned how to play it the right way. I thought he was doing it up here, right? Mm-hmm. But he's doing it up here. So there's a difference because he's holding the open string, right?
Yeah. You have that D that's a drone, that drone note.
So yeah, and I can play the bass part too.
Yeah, because it leaves gives you an extra finger
Yeah.
open, and
But you see, I was doing it up here. It's right.
the notes are right.
The notes are right. Exactly.
Yeah. It's the voicing is a little
Yeah,
different.
it's the inversion that's wrong.
Yeah, I find that that's something that some students have a hard time with too. Is I have some students that are very kind of broad thinkers. They think very linearly. They think like they think really wide, right? So they can look at something and they can easily extrapolate. And then I get some students that it's so narrow and
Yeah,
it's
you
so
got to be careful
so
when you do that.
closed.
Yeah.
So we talk a lot about themes and we talk a lot about applying different themes and this concept of a chord is just 3 notes. Wherever you want to play them, it's still the same chord, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
theoretically speaking, right? But I mean, you could play me 5 different G's on that
Yeah.
guitar, right? So if you're following along and trying to learn a song and it says G and C, what G? You got to listen to the song,
Exactly.
try out the different voices.
But and knowing you have to be able to hear what those different voices are, and the way you hear what those different voices are playing them yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I give students an exercise where they play like A chords in different spots,
Okay.
so they can hear that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's weird. What I just showed you about that song, it's frick. That's what I told my students all the time, and I'm 40 years. I'm duh, you freaking idiot.
Oh my God, I'd be such a better player if I did everything I told my students to do.
Yeah, me too. I'd be really good. I'd be really something by then for sure.
Oh, jeez.
Oh well, such is life, my friend. Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's not a bad little guitar. That's been my stage guitar for the last 6 or 7 years now. I had an old Ibanez that I tend to use recording, an old Artwood.
Oh yeah.
Gorgeous guitar. But it didn't have a pickup in it, and I couldn't bring myself to cut a hole in it. So hence the getting a stage guitar.
Mm-hmm. That's well made.
Yeah, it definitely serves its purpose. It's definitely a tool. All right, it looks like I had a couple more here. I wanted to talk a little bit about, or see a little bit about this. You talked actually a little bit earlier, kind of ties in with what you were talking about earlier, kind of getting away from music, kind of losing that motivation, and then kind of realizing that, hey, I can still do this. Why am I not doing this, right? It feels good to do this, so let's do it. Do you think about your own mortality much?
Oh God!
And how does that come into art?
I'm gonna be 65 in September. I'm going down the far side of the hill, right? I mean, the older you get, the more it's on your mind. And how does it affect my art? Well, it's been a lot easier to write blues songs lately.
Now, do you find the more you think about it, the more you get pushed to the art side, away from the is this built for a consumer side?
Oh yeah.
Do you find that the marketing aspect kind of loses its because the incentives aren't
that's been
there,
gone.
Right?
That's been gone with me for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
The only constraints we really have, as far as that goes, is keeping things 321, keeping things so they're playable on the air. But as far as, I mean,
just make sure they're digestible, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You don't want somebody, yelling obscenities while you're doing a guitar solo. You want to. It's got to be musical. I mean, we do like we're called a blues band, but it's not all we do. We got one that I'm going to be putting out pretty soon. It's an instrumental. It's a country instrumental. It's called Chicken Fingers.
Okay.
It's just all instrument, just me just going nuts.
I'm looking forward to that.
On all the country stuff, right? Well, like I always tell my students, if you want to be a guitar player and you don't want to be a show-off, you got no right being a guitar player, right? You got to show off sometimes.
Yeah.
So we got that. We have
even Tom Petty learned to solo eventually, right?
I think so. Yeah.
I think so.
Well, sure. Poor Tom.
That's a loose definition. Solo.
Yeah. But, you know, we have blues songs. My bass player, Dwayne, writes, I don't know what kind of genre you would call it, but it's more chordy. There's a lot more chord changes in, like, for instance, there's one he's got... So
a lot more movement.
Yeah, he writes a lot.
Hearing that just on the acoustic, I'd say that's a jazz tune.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of. I don't want to nail it because
no.
If I say it's a jazz tune and he hears this and he goes, "That's not a freaking jazz tune. What's the matter with you?" You know.
Let me rephrase that. That progression is jazz-y.
Yeah, he's got his own style of stuff, so that's fine. And then I have my own, and then it's really neat too because Jim writes like he's like Bob Dylan. The stuff he writes, the lyrics he writes is incredible. So like I said earlier, I don't have to worry about that so much anymore. I just come up with chord patterns. And Jim, you got something for that? And he goes, "Oh yeah, I got one." We're working on a song where I come up with this pattern, and of course the first things the guys say, "Do you have any lyrics for it?" Well, no, but I know it. I knew it. It should be about some guy. Some guy's doing something like Felix the Cat. You know, like some character.
Okay.
Is going to be doing something.
So you at least kind of get a vision or some type of... Okay.
Right. So Jim's behind the drums. He goes, "Oh, I got one." He pulls out his book and that was it. The singer starts, okay. And my singer's really good for coming up with vocal lines. Like he can do it like that. It's crazy.
I don't know if you experience this in your band. Because again, you say you're a blues band and we use air quotes because that's just...
We're
kind of where
blues orientated,
yeah. That's kind of where it's centered.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But we've talked before. We both feel the same way that a good song music doesn't need to be.
No.
It doesn't need to be dropped into a particular box, right?
No.
There's blues riffs in my metal stuff, right? And there's
tons of it.
and there's rock riffs in the blues stuff, and there's jazz chords in the blues stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing that I find. Or that I find with my metal band is we're kind of similar in the sense of what you're discussing in your blues band with how people are writing. In that sometimes I'll come in with a song. Now I'm very, very rhythm based because I'm a bass player.
Well, I would hope
right?
so.
But a lot of the guitar parts that I write for the band are really, like I said, rhythm-based and built a lot on triads, built a lot on things that a bass player is more accustomed to. And then my guitarist, Kevin, he's an Iron Maiden freak, right? So he's got this kind of 80s hair metal thing where I have this very technical, tight rhythm thing. And it seems that no matter which one of us writes the song, by the time we learn it all together, it's harder to tell who wrote the song. It all feels like
that means
us.
That's what a band is, right?
Yeah. Okay.
That's what a band is. That's how.
I guess
it works.
that's kind of what I thought.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happens to us.
Yeah.
I mean,
so I'm sure you still have that. You have that single malt sound, right?
Exactly.
No matter who wrote the song, because it's filtered through the rest of you.
Absolutely.
And I mean, your guitar lead is going to be in the style of Rod, no matter who wrote the chord progression.
That's right. Yeah.
Right, and the bass line will be in the style of no matter who wrote.
Yeah. But we share. I might suggest something to Dwayne on a bass line. He's a guitar player too, and he might say, "Well, try that chord there and that." But I mean, right.
Oh, I mean, to find a band where me as a bass player, I can write guitar parts and not have an ego issue. Showing my guitarist, here's some guitar parts that I wrote, to actually have musicians that look at that and say, awesome, I like this. Oh, I'm going to change this, add a pinch harmonic here.
Yeah.
We'll write a harmony. We just make it better, right? I feel so bad for these groups that don't have that back and forth. I don't know. Sometimes it's probably a good thing. There's a lot of musicians who don't want to create. I mean, there's a ton of, for every one musician who's writing stuff, there's 100 in the studio who can play better, right? Who you never see or hear.
Yeah, I guess
Or you
so.
hear them on a record.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How many lap steel players are sitting in Nashville who nobody knows, but they're sitting on a ton of cash because they've been on every country album for 20 years straight.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't write anything on their own, but they know, oh, that song's in A. Oh, you want something in the verse, and they do it.
It's a different thing. I mean,
that is a completely
you have
different
to be
thing.
motivated to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have
that seems like work to me.
what
Like doing
work.
that type of like doing session work like that.
Oh, yeah,
like having to like you coming in and saying, "This is my song. Give me a bass line here."
Yeah,
like that feels like work.
Yeah, it is work.
That
especially when you got
hard.
Yeah, when you got a guy standing over you going, "No, that's not right. No, that's not right. No, that's not right. Do it this way. Do it that way." Yeah. It's two different things.
Mm-hmm.
It's two different things altogether.
Yeah,
that's why now in my golden years,
you can say that. Yeah.
I don't know if I like the sound of that or not. I'm very happy to have the people around me that I have right now and doing what I'm doing, you know. I know this COVID thing hit, and like I said, I had one of the best summers planned for the band, but at least we got the studio and we can still work together and still be buddies, and we're having a good time.
All right. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess this is probably a perfect time to end this off. It's I don't know how long we are here, but I think it's been a little while.
It's been a while, yeah.
Now, before we end this, though, can you give us a name of the upcoming album? Maybe a potential release date?
We don't have a name. We don't have a name for the album yet.
Okay.
But we will be releasing one tune on December 26th.
So one tune, December 26th. Yeah. Now, how can listeners get some more info about this? How can they stay in tune?
Go to Single Malt Blues Band page. Just Google us. And
okay.
When we have info, it will be there.
All right. Now, that's a website or a Facebook page? Or
yeah, it's a Facebook page.
Okay.
Yeah. Just Google it. You'll find me.
All right. So you can Google Rod Robillard. I did Google it, actually. Yeah, you're on Vandalism, too. I saw that.
I know.
Didn't have anything posted.
How does that happen?
I don't know.
Actually, if you want to talk to me personally, you have to put Roddy Robillard.
Roddy. So
yeah,
R-O-D-D.
Yes, it's a long story.
Robillard. All right.
My Facebook got screwed up when I had to start over again. I couldn't use it. Anyways.
Hey, I did the same thing. There's another Ryan O'Neill out there with no picture, and hey, it is what it is. Yeah. If a Ryan O'Neill friends you and he doesn't have a profile picture, that's not me.
I'm very leery of that now. All right.
So if you want to connect with Rod personally, you can look up Roddy Robillard on Facebook and check him out. Also look up the Single Malt Blues Band and keep an eye. December 26th be the first single released from their new upcoming yet to be titled album. Thanks, everybody, for listening to the first episode of the Ryan O'Neill Podcast. Take care. Bye.
Well, that was fun.